Packer and Durham. Again, Wes on the links for another day or two. Eric Macklin will be hanging out with us tomorrow. Drew Carter filling in, rocking and rolling, chilling out. You had Virginia and Syracuse men's lacrosse this weekend. Virginia takes care of business. And making his debut is Jeff Connor, who's having a great year. And again, there he is. Jeff, first of all, welcome to the show. Congratulations on the regular season. I know it's not been easy, but, man, you guys made it look that way this weekend.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. It was definitely a great win, and appreciate you having me on the show today.
You guys have been banged up like nobody's business. It has not been easy to stay at the top, has it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a tough year. A lot of people have gone down with injuries, but we have a great training staff led by Rebecca Vazzo. So just the ability for her to get players back as fast as possible and have other players step up when people go down has definitely been a key to our season.
Well, Jeff, I mean, you yourself have personified that next man up mentality. I want to read you a text from my buddy Paul Carcaterra, who I called the game with Saturday in Syracuse. He said, "Feel free to tell Jeff that 2 of the last 3 Virginia games I've called, he has been the best player on the field by a wide margin. He is beating short sticks like when I show up to the local park and bully kids in 3v3 lacrosse." And he hits the nail on the head there, Jeff. I mean, you talk about the injuries. I think you have taken advantage of that extra opportunity you've been given offensively. How is it different for you down the stretch of the season? Because you've just blown up here lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been fun. The coaches have kind of been telling me to take more chances and whatnot. So it's definitely just like kind of working off Connor and Matt. I play a lot behind the cage. So a lot of the times it's not me just trying to beat my man. It's kind of just working off them, setting picks. And that opens me up more than me open myself up half the time. So it's definitely been fun.
Jeff, we've had a great time with your coach, Lars Tiffany. I mean, he's philosophical. He gives you things that you really contemplate. It's more than just the game. What's it like playing for him as far as what you've learned outside of lacrosse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really great. He's definitely has a different coaching style than most coaches I've played under. And he's definitely very unique. You can, after practice, you can have like great conversations with him. He'll say some quirky things, but definitely love him to death. So it's interesting, but he's a great coach and wouldn't want any other head coach.
Quirky is for sure, but he's such a great guy. And we see him right now on the screen running around with the stick that his dad gave him a couple of years ago. When he's running around with that wooden stick pregame, Jeff, is he a legit player still? Like, could he suit up to this day with that wooden stick?
That'd be pretty interesting. We do 1v1 we do 1v1 matchups during practice. You call out someone, and a couple of kids in our team are joking around that they're going to call him out one day, have him go down on the field and try lacing him up.
By the way, I want to go back to him a second. You mentioned the word quirky, which is an interesting way to describe him. Give me one, for instance, where he really gave you something that you said, you know what, I've never thought of it that way, and I've learned from it. Because, I mean, he's always coming up with interesting, motivating tactics and everything else. But give me your favorite Lars Tiffany motivating force that he's thrown on you.
That's a tough question. I wouldn't say I have one specific instance, but we kind of every Thursday, one grade goes over to his house and he gives us time to sit down and talk with him. And just like his takes and like responses on like certain subjects are honestly very interesting. And just sometimes he says things that you just wouldn't even think of on certain topics. So it's just interesting.
And the eye contact is intense as well. I imagine if he's yelling at you in practice, like the eye contact is intense when we're just doing an interview. So I can't imagine what it's like if he's chewing you out at practice. But Jeff, for you guys, I mean, we've talked about the injuries, but let's be real. You guys have been at the top of the sport for 3 years now. You're the back-to-back reigning national champs. We had Belle Smith from BC Women's Lax on earlier and asked her the same thing, but what's it like for you guys now as national champs getting every team's best shot all season?
Yeah, it's definitely a little different. You got to go into every game knowing you're going to get the team's best performance. But, I mean, one thing coach says, pressure is a privilege. So going out there and just knowing that you have pressure on you every game and just going back to the basics, focusing on ourselves, taking it one game at a time. I mean, it's kind of all we've been focusing on the next game up. So.
All right, so the end of the regular season comes up, and again, it's kind of an interesting schedule for you guys moving forward. But the big prize is still awaiting, right? Hey, we've done this NCAA tournament thing before. Let's let it rip. So now that you put this ACC thing rearview mirror, tell us about the mindset, the focus of this team moving forward.
Yeah, obviously we have one more game on Thursday. Good team coming to town, Lafayette. So we'll focus in, take care of that. But when you get to the playoffs, I feel like we have a lot of players on our roster that have a lot of experience. So kind of just falling back on that experience early, just being comfortable in those positions and taking it one game at a time, I think is going to be the key for the playoffs. So,
Jeff, I know you don't want to look past Thursday, but you guys are going to have over 2 weeks between your last regular season game and the NCAA tournament starting. Do you know what you're going to be doing for those 2 weeks? Like, do you have a basis after last year, no ACC tournament as well?
Yeah, I'm not positive yet. I know that first week could be a little lighter. Just because there's nothing really to look forward to. You don't know your opponent yet. So that first week could be a little switched up than what we usually do. But then that following week after the selection show, we'll kind of get back into it, do our normal week during the season.
By the way, when you're walking to class, do people recognize you? I mean, is lacrosse at Virginia to the point where it's men's basketball, football? I mean, you go back-to-back natties. I mean, people kind of know what's going on. So when you're going to class, students recognize who you are?
I wouldn't say students recognize who you are at all. I mean, we all have the same backpack, so I mean that can kind of give it away when you're walking to class, but it's definitely not. No one's really recognizing you on campus.
No. Well, I mean, how about professors?
Maybe if you had the professor a couple times, but usually the giveaway is just your backpack because we all have the same backpack. So
I think they will now that you've been on Packer and Durham.
It helps.
This would
certainly
big.
help. I would think that every student at the University of Virginia said, forget studying. Let me just turn on ACC Network and watch these morons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
They've got it on at Boylan Heights right now if anyone's over there for breakfast on this Monday morning. But, Jeff, I mean, for you, again, I go back to there's so many weapons on the offense, and you've just kind of flown under the radar. I imagine, like, going back to high school, you must have been like the best player on the field. What has it been like now playing with Connor Schellenberger and Matt Moore and Xander Dixon and these guys? How is it different for you now?
I mean, yeah, it's a great experience. So you never really have to worry about who has the ball. Anyone can make plays on our field. So working with Matt and Shelly from behind the cage is one of the best experiences. They kind of draw all the pressure, so it becomes a lot easier. And then when you just have two inside presences and great people up top, great other middies up top who can step in and shoot the ball, it becomes a lot easier, and your decision-making processes become a lot easier. So,
Jeff, if I was driving through Charlottesville this morning and I was starving and I was in the mood for, let's just say, a bagel, where would you suggest I go in Charlottesville?
I'm a huge Bodo's Bagels fan. Gosh. I go probably at least 5-6 times a week, but a lot of my roommates will disagree with that one.
Why would they disagree?
They're just not the biggest fans. I kind of have to force them sometimes to go with me. So,
well, they're not the biggest fans because it's not the biggest bagel. I mean, it's the size of a nickel. So 5-6 times a week, Jeff, you're throwing money away, man. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. You can't. Wait a minute. Whoa. Carter, you can't go there.
Whatever.
You've already lost a bet to Dana Boyle. You've already apologized to her and said, "Hey, listen, she won the bet.
I paid it off. All right."
And now you're just backtracking after a couple hours. I mean, Dana's going to call in and rip you on that.
Little background, Jeff. I went to Syracuse, so Dana Boyle, obviously a UVA alum. We had a little friendly wager on the game this weekend, and obviously you guys won. So I had to say that Bodo's Bagels are delicious on the air earlier today, which I don't believe, and I had to put the truth out there at some point before the show ended.
That's funny.
Now you know the rest of the story. All right, before we let you go, since you're making your debut, Jeff, since you've been at the University of Virginia, what has been your hardest class?
It's an interesting question. So I'm an English major, so I kind of enjoy the classes where it's a lot of reading and writing. So a class I probably took a year and a half ago, it's called Introduction to Sky and Solar Systems, an astronomy class. Definitely didn't fit my skill set as much as an English class would, so probably have to go with that one.
So you thought this was it's all about the Big Dipper, get my A and let's get out of here, and it turns out to be a little bit more complex than that? Is that what happened here?
it was just more complicated than I thought it was. You got to remember all the constellations, all the planets, like the gas, everything. It was very in depth astronomy class.
How about one thing you retained from that class? Can you give me one nugget about the solar system?
That was about 2 years ago, but I mean, I don't have anything off the top of my head. But we went out at nighttime. I could tell you where the North Star is.
And there you go. The answer is no, and thank God. That's the answer to that question. First of all, again, congratulations on all your success. Stay healthy. Get those legs ready to roll, man, because you guys are ready for another deep run in the tournament.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on today.